Hey guys, welcome on into today's video. If you're interested in getting more political commentary, analysis, and predictions, you can click that subscribe button. In this video, we're going to be going through a best case scenario 2018 Senate map for the Republican Party. Basically, what we're going to be doing is giving them the incumbency advantage in the states where they have it, and then also allowing them to pick up seats in states where Donald Trump was able to win the general election in 2016 over Hillary Clinton, and also just states where it has shown to be possible for Republicans to win statewide elections. So this is going to be a best case scenario, and just keeping it real, guys. In 2018, it's expected to be a tremendous year for Democratic voter turnout, so this best case scenario should be taken with a grain of salt. It's highly unlikely, but we're just going to give the best possible scenario for states that Republicans have been able to win statewide elections in. So we're going to go from west to east here, starting with Nevada. And they do have the incumbency advantage here with Dean Heller. This is viewed as one of the most vulnerable seats for the Republicans, especially because Hillary Clinton was able to win Nevada over Donald Trump in a state that's been trending more blue over the past couple of decades. But still, we're going to be giving them the incumbency advantage here and giving them that seat with Heller. Moving on to Arizona. And unfortunately for the Arizona Republican Party, they don't have the incumbency advantage here anymore with Jeff Flake moving out. Whoever they nominate, it's going to be going up against the Democrat who's been actually doing pretty well in the polling against all of her potential opponents. If it is the Sheriff Arpaio down there in Arizona, I don't give the Republicans any chance to win this seat. Kind of almost like a scenario that we had over in Alabama. A little different, obviously, but you got to pick candidates that have that crossover appeal, not just to your own base. But if it's any of the other candidates, then definitely a possibility for the Republicans to keep this state. They're not getting the incumbency with Flake, which is unfortunate for them, but still, nonetheless, Arizona, a red state that did go for Donald Trump. It was a close election there between Clinton and Trump, but certainly a state that they can pick up and hold on to here, potentially, even though it is going to be a very vulnerable seat, with the Democrats having a great chance at potentially picking that up. Moving on to Montana, where the Democrats have the incumbency advantage with Jon Tester. Still a very red state. Donald Trump did extremely well against Hillary Clinton. We go over to this map, and you can see that Trump won by about 20 percentage points, and a state where Republicans tend to do very well across statewide. So we do feel like potentially Montana could be a state where the Republicans pick up a seat. Kind of a similar situation over in North Dakota. Even though the Democrats do have the incumbency with Heidi Heitkamp, the Republicans have a great shot at potentially flipping this over to their side. We look at the 2016 results. Donald Trump completely dominating Clinton there, picking up that win by about 35 percentage points. In North Dakota, tending to be more Republican. So definitely a possibility for the Republicans to flip this seat. And I think it's actually almost probably even over a 50% chance for them to win this state, even against the incumbent there with Heitkamp. Moving on to Texas, Beto O'Rourke is really mounting a surge against Ted Cruz, and Ted Cruz is one of the least popular senators from his home state. It's him and Mitch McConnell have the lowest approval ratings of senators from their home state. So I definitely think that this is potentially a vulnerable seat, which you wouldn't necessarily think from the state of Texas, but still nonetheless the incumbency advantage and the fact that Texas almost always goes Republican in their statewide election. So we're going to go ahead and keep that seat with them. Moving on to Missouri, this is a state that can go either way in a lot of these elections. I think that the Republicans flipping this seat over against the incumbent Claire McCaskill is going to be more difficult, especially with all the drama that's going around the state there with the Republican governor right now. I think that's putting a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. So that's going to be something else that the Republican attorney general here that's running for the Senate is going to have to deal with, and going against an incumbent and going against what's potentially a blue wave. So Missouri certainly could stay in the Democrats' camp, but if everything goes right here for the Republicans, definitely a state that they could pick up in Missouri, where a lot of these statewide elections can go to Republicans, and we've seen that quite a bit in the state of Missouri over the past decade or so. Moving on up to Wisconsin, and this is almost a safe-leaning Democrat seat right now with the incumbent Tammy Baldwin, but we have seen Wisconsin move over a bit more Republican. They have a Republican governor. And definitely Republicans have shown that they can win statewide elections. Donald Trump, even though he isn't necessarily the most popular figure over there in the state of Wisconsin, he did terrible in the Wisconsin primary back in 2016, but still nonetheless winning the state by less than 1 percentage point. So we are going to go ahead and say that potentially the Republicans could win this state. In a similar scenario over in the state of Michigan, this is almost in that safe Democrat category with the incumbent Debbie Stabenow running against whoever wins the Republican nominee in their primary. But nonetheless, a state where there is a Republican governor, and Donald Trump was able to win this state by the slimmest of margins, just 0.3 percentage points. But like I said, another one of those states where it is possible for a Republican to win a statewide election. Moving on down here, an incumbent that is in danger in the state of Indiana. You would expect Mike Pence to play a factor here, supporting the Republican on their side of things. And also Indiana, a bit more of a red state than some of these other Midwestern states like Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin. These Midwestern states, Indiana definitely a little bit more red than them on average. And Joe Donnelly, he had a really good situation in his last go-around back in 2012 against not the best candidate on the Republican side. They have a bit better of a candidate this time, and certainly a seat that they could very potentially pick up here in Indiana. Moving on down to Tennessee, I actually think that this is a seat that the Democrats have a great shot at picking up. A very popular former governor there in Phil Bredesen, and Marsha Blackburn, not necessarily the best candidate potentially there on the Republican side in terms of her total appeal across not just her own party, but independents as well. But still, nonetheless, Tennessee, a very red state. Of course, Donald Trump did very well there, and definitely one of those situations where they could keep this seat. Corker moving on, so they don't have that incumbency advantage, but still a possibility there for the Republicans. Moving up to Ohio, another state where I don't necessarily think the Republicans have a great shot here, going against the incumbent Sherrod Brown, who's pretty popular amongst his home constituencies. But nonetheless, Ohio going for Donald Trump. We look at the election there in 2016, winning by about 8 percentage points. Ohio, one of those states that can go either way depending on the election scenario, but certainly Republicans have shown that they can win their fair share of statewide elections there. They have a Republican governor right now as well. So just a few more seats left to go. We'll go down to Florida here. Incumbent Bill Nelson against the Florida governor Rick Scott. I think that this is going to be a very competitive race, and you almost always see competitive statewide elections down there in Florida. Donald Trump winning this one by about 1 percentage point. Very competitive there. I think that picking a guy like Rick Scott, who has the name recognition, gives the Republicans a chance at flipping this seat over and taking it from Bill Nelson. A lot of things working to their disadvantage, though, right now, especially with the gun control situation right now in the state of Florida. But still, nonetheless, Rick Scott has shown he can win statewide election there in Florida and a potential seat pickup for the Republicans. Moving on, we'll go to Pennsylvania next, and another Midwestern state with a Democrat incumbent senator here in Bob Casey. I think this is a pretty safe Democrat seat as well, but Pennsylvania also flipping over to Donald Trump in 2016 in that statewide election, and we've definitely seen that Pennsylvania can elect Republicans in statewide elections, so a possibility for them, even though it is a long shot to pick that up. And then we're going to wrap this up with West Virginia. Joe Manchin, fairly popular amongst his home constituents, kind of a more conservative Democrat, going against Morrissey, which gives West Virginia's Republican Party a chance to flip this seat over. Very good job for them not electing Blankenship. I don't think Blankenship would have had any shot against Manchin in a head-to-head matchup, but certainly probably going to be a competitive race. And Donald Trump doing tremendously well in the 2016 election. You can see he won by over 40 percentage points over Clinton, but nonetheless, definitely a red state that can be flipped and picked up here. So that's going to be the end of this, where we gave the Republicans every seat that could potentially be competitive, or states where we have seen Republicans able to win statewide elections. And if they're able to do all of this, the Republicans would have that supermajority over 60 seats here at 61. Of course, when you have over 60 seats, then you're filibuster proof there in the Senate, which is always nice to have. The Democrats had that for a little bit of time back right after Obama won in 2008 before things flipped back. But still, nonetheless, this is probably going to be more of a situation where it's about 50-50 on each side here in terms of the number of seats, especially with all the incumbency advantages that the Democrats have and what's expected to be kind of a blue wave here in 2018 with a very high voter turnout on the Democrat side. But still, if the Republicans are able to do their best case scenario, they could end up getting about 61 Senate seats here. Highly unlikely, of course, but nonetheless a possibility. So that's going to wrap up this video, guys. Again, if you want more of these analysis and prediction videos, thanks for stopping on in. Subscribe for more, and we hope to see you guys in future videos. Bye.